Zielinsky. I'm getting confused with spelling my last name and my first name.
And Mr. Zielinsky, how are you employed?
I work at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in the crime scene.
And what is your official title with the crime scene?
The official title in the crime scene is crime scene investigator.
What's a crime scene investigator? Is that a senior crime scene investigator?
Yes, I've been over here for about 15 years now. So that's how I used to get there.
All right. Could you please just talk a little bit about your training experience? Could you outline your history of employment, I guess starting with the West Palm Beach Police Department?
Yes, I interned at the West Palm Beach Police Department over 15 years ago. I did that for about a year in their crime scene unit.
And then were you with another department prior to your employment with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I was. In Coral Springs, Florida, I worked for the Coral Springs Police Department, also in the crime scene unit. It was a part-time position. I did that for about a year until an opening opened up at the Sheriff's Office.
All right. And your educational background, sir, could you just outline that for us, please?
Yes, I have an associate's degree with, I think it's still Broward Community College down in Broward, in the Davie campus, and I majored in criminal justice with a minor in crime scene.
And what about your formal professional development, your formal training, and why you've been with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office that you have, continuing legal and scientific educational that allows you to perform your duties and keeps you abreast of the newest developments in the field?
Yes, I have.
You also have an opportunity to lecture at various seminars and teach in the area of crime scene investigation and evidence collection.
Judge, where we're heading is tendering as an expert in crime scene investigation. I wholeheartedly agree.
You don't tender anymore, but you want to proceed with background? Or?
Just briefly.
All right.
Yeah. So you had the opportunity to lecture, teach at various seminars and professional development courses in the area of crime scene, diagram, evidence collection, those types of courses.
Yes.
And do you have any professional affiliations that are relevant to your job?
Yes, I do.
And what are those?
I'm affiliated with FDIAI and the IAI, which are both the International Association of Identification. I'm also an advisory member of Kaiser University in their crime scene program. I'm on it's called OSAC, which is Organization Scientific Area Committee. I'm in the crime scene department of that, which is like our standards and procedures in crime scene. Secretary for the Gold Coast Forensics Association, and
Okay. So with respect to just your work with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, have you been involved in crime scene investigation, evidence collection, documentation for death investigations, just in general, non-homicidal death investigations?
yes,
And do you know how many death investigations you've been involved in?
I'd say close to 400 or more.
Okay. And homicide investigations, have you been involved in, again, evidence collection and documentation for homicide investigations?
Yes.
Approximately how many?
Either around 50 or 100.
Okay. And specifically within that subcategory, stabbing investigations, have you had the opportunity to collect evidence, document the scene, and document evidence with respect to stabbing investigation?
Yes, I have.
Yet, have you had the opportunity to author reports and testify as to the work that you've done in your cases and testify in either depositions and report hearings?
Yes.
If you could tell us, when we talk about your training experience, what are your duties and responsibilities as a crime scene investigator?
While working at the Sheriff's Office, what I do is I respond to crime scenes, but also evidence comes in from crime scenes that we process for fingerprints and DNA. We respond to the scenes. What I need to do is go out there and document with notes or photography, and we also do diagrams, do sketches, we collect evidence, we package it. That way it comes to trial or just preserve it. We also do weight and fingerprint, not the analysis part, but actually trying to get fingerprints. We also do DNA, also not the analysis, it's just collecting the DNA.
All right. Now, is Is your job consistent with what I guess we see on TV? I mean, are you also a detective? Do you talk to witnesses, or is your role a little bit different?
No, it's not like television. We don't talk to witnesses at all. We may have interactions with witnesses, but we don't question them.
Okay, so you're not directing the investigation, correct?
That's correct. There's no direction from us.
All right. Your job, as I hear you, is to document, gather, and preserve all the evidence that you can, so that if it can be processed later, that it's properly stored and documented.
That's correct, yes.
Are you involved in the analysis of the DNA?
Not the analysis portion.
Are you involved in the analysis of any fingerprints or any forensic testing?
No.
Why is it important as a crime scene investigator to gather as much evidence as possible from the moment that you arrive on the scene? In other words, trying to cast a wide net or over-gather the evidence. Can you tell us why that's important?
The reason why that's important is because generally we're at the scene for a limited amount of time. We can't come back once that scene is released. Even if we were to come back, there could be things that are altered or taken away from the scene, so we want to get these handled over there.
Okay. And what about scenes that are dwellings or apartments, places where people live? Do you hold scenes indefinitely, or do you come a time where you have to back out and allow the residents of the home to come back and live in their place of residence?
There is a time limit. We can hold it for as much as we need to, but there does come a time when it's not our house, it's somebody else's home, we have to give it back to them.
The various ways in which you document a scene. You told us photography, is that one way?
Yes.
And diagram sketches, do you do those by hand, those done by computer?
The first thing that you do when you go to a crime scene, if you're going to do a sketch or diagram, is going to be a sketch because that's done on paper. The diagram is more professional and it's done afterwards with reference to the sketch. So that's the sketch is done by hand and the diagram is done on a computer.
And you also author reports that detail your work in the case, any particular case in which you can reference dates, times, location of particular evidence.
Yes.
Now, with respect to your work in this case, PDSO case number 16153-089, did you become involved as the crime scene investigator in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and before we start, did you author a report? It looks like an 8-page report as to your work in this case.
Yes, I did author a report.
Do you have a copy of the report from me?
Yes, I did.
If there comes a point at which you need to reference your report, please let me know. Otherwise, just tell us on or about November the 17th, 2016, did you respond to an address at 16112 Glasgow Drive in Wasatch, Florida?
Yes, I did.
How did you become aware that you were needing to respond to that scene?
On that day, I received a phone call from the supervisor of the crime scene unit asking for me to respond to that location.
What time did you receive that call out?
That call was approximately 4:30 in the morning. My shift doesn't start until around 6, so it was a call out. I was already at my house. I had to get ready and go there.
And approximately, we don't want to your street address, but approximately how far away from Glasgow Drive were you time-wise?
About in that time in the morning, about 30, maybe 40 minutes away.
Do you recall what time you arrived on scene?
Arrived on scene just about 6 o'clock in the morning.
And when you arrived on scene, because when you're called out and you arrive on scene, generally, I don't want to know specifically what you were told, but generally, what information are you given in order for you to start to document a scene?
When I arrived on scene, I was told that there was a search warrant that was served on my house. It was in reference to a homicide, stabbing. I was told that there was another crime scene investigator that had already been on scene. They were still there. They had done video. They had recorded the house with video recordings. I was told that there was a white male that was deceased inside the home. And that's kind of about it.
Is that customary? I mean, the type of information that you had, is that customary? You get that information just so in your mind, you kind of understand what you're dealing with, and then you're able to gather the appropriate tools that you need.
Yes.
So you arrive on scene, and when you initially arrive on this scene, what is your practice and what did you do in this case in order to document the outside of the scene?
Well, I had the other crime scene investigator with me, so I had asked if they can do the documentation with notes. What I had done in this particular case was I had photographed them. So me personally, had done photographs of the house.
Okay. You said there was another crime scene investigator present, correct?
Correct.
Who was that?
That was CSI Brandt. That was BRANDT.
Was Julianne Brandt?
Yes, Julian Brandt.
And was CSI Brandt, was she there under your direction, or who was the lead CSI?
I was deemed the lead CSI for that scene.
Okay. Even though she was there initially, you were assigned as the lead?
Yes, that's correct.
Did she continue to assist you throughout your work, or did you CSI Brandt lead and then you were documenting by yourself?
No, she stayed, I can't remember if she stayed the entire time, but I'm pretty sure she stayed for most of it.
And you would have seen and documented the same things that she did, so that you could testify as to all aspects of the investigation.
Yes.
Approach the witness with what's confirmed to 16 to 25 identification as previously shown defense. CSI, you looked at these photographs prior to your testimony today, correct?
That's correct.
So they appear to document the scene fairly clearly.
Without objection, Your Honor.
Are you offering 16 through 25 at this time?
The state of movement evidence states 16 to 25.
16 through 25 in evidence without objection.
And I want to show you one photograph that's been previously moved into evidence. One moment. This is in evidence, states one. You recognize this image, sir?
Yes, I do.
Right, and is this the front of the residence, the 16112 Glasgow Drive?
Yes, that's the front.
It states 16. Is that also a photograph of the front of that residence? This is a little bit different vantage point.
Yes.
And you took various photographs documenting the entire outside of the home. Here it states 17. Why do you take photographs sort of right to left or left to right to try to capture the entire residence?
Well, the reason why we do that is as he had said, is to capture the entire residence. So if you were to line those photographs up, you would be able to get a vision of what the entire scene looks like.
It states 18, and this is a photograph, what we're looking at here.
That's on their property. That's looking in, I believe, the southeasterly direction.
It states 20, photograph of that southeastern corner.
Yes, it is.
Did you examine your initial outside examination of the home? Did you examine to see if there were any windows that were broken, open, screens popped out, anything like that?
Yes, we did do that.
Did you observe any screens popped out, windows broken, anything that appeared that a burglary had been committed?
No.
It states 19. Can we see here the residence? Are you photographing the fact these windows are all closed?
That's an outcome of that photograph. Again, it was just doing the whole exterior of it. But yes, you can see that those windows are closed.
And were you aware at the time that you were out, that you were documenting the outer scene, any significance to this window right there?
That window where you can see the light coming through on the far end is the room that had the ceiling inside.
When you were photographing the outside of the residence, do you know that yet? Or?
I don't recall. I don't remember. I probably went inside the house already just to get an overall of the inside. So I might have known, but I couldn't have picture.
Again, it's 21. And we're able to see that in fact, where the line is open, that window is intact and appears to be closed.
Objection, Your Honor. It speaks for itself and leading questions.
Is it sustained?
What were we able to, again, what were we able to what were you documenting, what were we able to see in this photograph?
This photograph in particular, because it was taken up close, it was used to document the condition of the window and what you can see on the inside.
Did you also document the condition of the front door when you got there?
Yes, I did.
Was there a crime scene tape already up over the front door when you got there, or did you place that in there?
That was there when I got there.
So if we look at stage 24, what do we see in stage 24?
That's a photograph of the front door. And so to the left of that, which off the frame, would be the bedrooms that you would see in the previous photograph.
And again, stage 25, is that a different angle of that same point of egress?
It is.
They stated that when you first enter the crime scene, you take a look around. What measures do you take to prevent, transfer of blood? So you're not separating blood, or you're not moving evidence around. Are there measures that you take to ensure the integrity of the evidence?
Typically, there are in this situation the blood that was in the house. Most of it was on the floors. Most of it was on the walls. There was some on the ceiling. There was some that was on the floor, but it was dry, and it was really not much to really protect with that.
Okay. But you wear, I guess, little things on your feet, or you just shine a flashlight?
We have PPE, personal protection when we wear.
Okay. And you did that with respect to this case to ensure there was no transfer of evidence?
Well, it doesn't really ensure the transfer of evidence, but it does protect us.
Okay. Once you, let me ask, when you got into the house, how did you document the scene so that later you could construct a diagram showing where everything was?
Well, there was a sketch that was drawn, and then after that, there was a sketch that was drawn, and then on that sketch, I was able to measure to get the sizes of the rooms, and then from there, I went back and used a computer program to then construct a diagram.
Did you create a digital image of the primary crime scene, which would be the bedroom, as well as the overall outline of the house?
Yes, there's like a screen capture of those two areas.
All right, approach the witness was dates 13, 14, 15. So you recognize states 13, 14, 15.
Yes, I do.
And what are these?
No objection.
Movement in evidence?
The state would move into evidence at this time 13 and 14. I would ask that 15 remain just for identification at this time.
13 and 14 in evidence, 15 for argument.
And CSI Zielinsky, I'm going to leave states 15 with you. It's only for identification at this time. I'm going to ask you to take the pen that I've given you, and when we reach certain points on photographs, I'd ask you to just circle it, and I'm going to ask you to mark it with a particular letter that we'll use later.
Oh.
All right. But at this time, I would like to publish state 14 and ask you to step down from your seat and just describe for us generally what we're seeing, what we're looking at here. And give us some directions so that we can orient ourselves.
Okay, so the front of the house is along this edge up here. So you would come into the front door this way. And then you have the kitchen if you continue. That's going to be continuing south. And then you have, inside the kitchen area, you have, over here is a knife that was on the kitchen counter. And then if you continue south, there was some, just regular cabinets and drawers, ovens. And if you continue south, you walk into like a dining room area. And then at the west end of the dining room area were two sliding glass doors, which is this blue here. And there was blinds that were covering those doors, except on the southern side, like the last maybe foot or so of it, the blinds were open. After you leave the house and go into this area here is the patio. There was a screened-in room. There was a table with some chairs. There was, I think, 2 bloodstains that were on the floor near the table. And on the corner of the table was a pink cell phone. And then the door leading out of the patio to the rear yard was ajar. Coming back into the house, if you would continue back the opposite direction, going back to the kitchen, to the right, which would be the east. Over in this section was a hallway that would lead to the bedrooms. I think there was 3 of them in a bathroom. On this corner over here, leading into that hallway was a clump of hair on the floor. And then you continue down the hallway. Now, just to back up a little bit, in this area over here in the kitchen is where there was some blood on the floor. Also, this wall over here that was kind of outside the kitchen and going into the living room area on the west side of that area over there. It had blood on it as well, on the wall. This wall over here, these 2 short walls over here, this is actually, I dropped them down lower. They're actually full-size walls, but it's that way you can see in.
Now, what we see here, it would look like they're sort of half the wall.
Right.
Okay.
Right, so this wall over here on the north side, this wall on the south side, both in the hallway are full walls, but I just, in order to see into it three-dimensional, I had to drop them down, make them like half walls. Most of the blood was in this hallway, both sides of the walls and on the floor, and also about halfway through up on the ceiling with some more blood.
Go to stop right there, and I'm going to take your seat, and I want to talk about just that portion of the house first. Now, we see in your diagram, we see in your diagram there are portions of which are completely left blank. Why is it that those portions, I mean, there's no outline what was in this room here or this room here? Why is that done?
It's done mainly because it's going to confuse, or it's just going to add clutter to the diagram. I just tried filling up the areas that have items of evidentiary value to it.
So you try to keep your diagrams to portions of the investigation that you found to be relevant?
Yes.
Or the detective or investigator found to be relevant?
Yes.
So at this time, we're going to look at photographic documentation and just the areas that we spoke about, and we'll ask some further questions. I'm approaching the states 26 through 44 for identification. And is there any objection?
None. You offering at this time?
I am.
Is it 26 through 44?
26 through 44 for identification as those numbers.
And there's no objection, you're offering them at this time?
Yes, sir.
So 26 through 44 in evidence without objection.
CSI Zielinsky, you had an opportunity to look at these photographs prior to the testimony?
Yes.
And these document, that are in evidence, they document the areas, just the areas that we talked about so far, walking into the hallway and then the secondary hallway and the kitchen.
Yes.
All right. So we have your diagram. That's handy. Just go back forward. Here we go. First to stage 26. Tell us the vantage point that we have in this photograph. Where are we at?
This is at the front door on the exterior, looking towards the inside of the house. That's going to be looking to the south.
Back to the diagram. Essentially, you are at this point.
Yes.
Which way are you looking?
It's looking inward towards the south.
We see, if you say towards the south, we see we have a directional indicator right here.
Yes.
States 7. This picture showing.
This photograph is showing that same front door, but this is taken from the inside of the house, looking outside of the house, which would be facing north.
So what is this that we can see here?
That's one of the marked deputy sheriff cars that were parked outside.
Okay. And we can see here, just to the left in this photograph, there appears to be a window and some blinds.
Yes.
Where does that correlate on your diagram in states 14?
The window is not on the diagram.
Okay.
The room is going to be where you're pointing right now.
Okay. And this is one of those rooms that used to be like blank on your diagram?
Yes.
Did you find any evidentiary value or any blood spat or anything in that room that you documented?
No, there was not.
States 28. Orient us please on this photograph. Tell us what it shows.
In this photograph, I'm standing inside the hallway that leads to the 3 bedrooms,
Okay.
and I'm looking towards the front door and towards the living room, which was down on the diagram, the room that was occupied.
So what is this right here?
That's the front door.
And this over here would be
That's the kitchen.
the place where you're standing. What is your back face?
My back is facing the south wall inside the hallway that leads to the bedrooms.
That stays 32. What vantage point are we looking at there?
So this is kind of if I took an opposite stance in that hallway. The white closet door that you see there is where I took the picture from in the previous photograph. Where I'm standing right now is about where the living room was at.
And if you were to continue down this door in each direction, where would you end up?
Like, go to the closet door and continue left off the frame down that hallway. If he goes completely at the end, that's where the Stevens bedroom was.
Did you notice, as we can see here, there appear to be little dots. What did you notice about these dots, these areas that are on the wall of the closet?
Those dots all appear to be blood.
Did you document that in photographs?
Yes.
It states 30. What is this photograph of?
That's a photograph of the floor and wall over in the picture that you just saw. That same wall, that same door.
Did you document this blood through both photograph as well as swabbing it for possible DNA analysis?
Objection needed.
All the blood was photographed, and then if you see the scales, which are those white labels on the floor.
I think we have a better photograph of the labels.
Yes, all of those scales, with the exception of one, was swabbed.
With respect to swabbing, do you have any determination about which items to carry on for further analysis?
No.
If we're standing at E and again looking back towards the kitchen, what does state 35 show?
That photograph is taken from within that hallway that leads to the bedroom, and it's looking to the west. The kitchen is going to be off to the left, and to the right is the exterior door.
And again, you're now further down the hallway with your back to the decedent's room.
Yes.
This area of blood spatter on the light switch, did you have an opportunity to photograph that more closely and put a white label on it?
Yes.
What we see in stage 37.
That's the previous photograph that was shown. This is just taken from a different vantage point with the white label that was placed next to it.
And 38, is that a close-up view of that?
Yes, it is.
You described for us a clump of hair. Where did you locate that clump of hair?
Where clump of hair was located on the corner of the hallway and kitchen area. So it was kind of in the kitchen. If you were to turn down the hallway, it was kind of right in that corner.
Now, do you have your diagram, the item that's more identification on, like, say it's 15?
Yes, it is.
Would you please take the marker that I've given you and place a circle in the area of the clump of hair and then just write letter A next to it?
Sure.
And would you also just write the word front door by the front door? The document where this clump of hair was on the diagram.
Yes.
I'll another more question. Did you document where this clump of hair was in the residence?
Yes.
In states 40, we see a number 2 next to it. What's the purpose of the little placard?
The placards in this case was used in the photographs to show that it was an item that was going to be collected. And so I put a number down, and I was able to reference that later as to what that was.
States 41. Did you closely examine that hair and also collect that hair in case it was of any evidentiary value?
Yes, it was.
When you examined that hair, did you notice anything about the hair that you were able to describe based on your training experience that appeared to you to be unique in some way?
Yes.
What was that?
The hair, it didn't appear to have been pulled out of the head, and also just the color was very similar to the color of the hair of the decedent.
Okay. When you say that it didn't appear to have been pulled out, what did you notice about the hair that, again, based on your training experience, told you that it didn't look like it was torn out?
Usually when you tear hair out, you'll have bulbs, which are the roots of the hair, and there was no bulbs that I was able to see.
And really, would the end sprayed at all, like it shredded or anything like that?
No.
Did it appear to you to be consistent with the hair being cut or sliced?
Again, it didn't look like it was pulled out. It could have been cut.
Going back to the overall diagram, continuing on down this hallway, did you come to a point where you were able to breach the door where the decedent was found?
Yes.
And on that hallway, was there evidence of was there further evidence of blood?
Yes, it was.
Looking at States 44, this photograph here, what does this show?
That photograph shows the south end of the hallway. That's to the bedrooms. At the far right of that image is the bedroom that had the decedent in it. The white structure that you see to the left of that with the stain on it was a spare bedroom.
Okay. We can actually see the decedent's feet in this photograph.
Yes, a little bit in there.
And there's an area up here that appears to be blood, but it doesn't appear to be droplets. Did it have a different appearance to that area than the other areas that you saw?
Yes, it did.
Looking at States 43, can you just describe the way the blood pattern looked to you?
Well, it didn't appear to be droplets. It appeared to have been something that had blood on it that had touched that area.
So once you got into the room of the decedent, did you make observations, take notes, and ultimately create another computerized diagram of the decedent as he was found?
Yes.
I think this is already in evidence in States 13. And Mr. Zielinsky, if you would step down, I want to ask you a few questions about this diagram. All right, you can describe before choosing your diagram the overall layout of the room, what you were able to observe.
Okay. Well, first off, this would be the front exterior of the house. So the front door is off to the right here. As far as the room is concerned, when you come in, this is the hallway up to the top right. You walk into the bedroom, and the north wall over here is kind of where the decedent's head was located. He was on the floor. There was a bed that was against the wall, but it was kind of twisted off. It wasn't like straight on it. There was a laundry basket over here, which had blood on it. There was blood kind of on the north end of the top of the bed. There was a cell phone that had blood on it on a little computer table that was over here to the right. There were two other cell phones that were on the windowsill. The blinds that you saw in the photographs earlier, they were pulled up. There was some blood on the string to bring that blind up. And there was blood on the floor and blood on the bed. And I think that's about it.
Okay. And the victim was deceased around it, correct?
Yes.
All right. You can go ahead and take your seat. And I believe we need to approach briefly on it. Any objection, counsel, to States 25 through 66? Mr. objection to the previous thing stated?
Without waiving the previous notice.
So 45 through, offering at this time?
I'm offering it at this time.
45 through 46, with the exception of 54 and 55, would be in evidence without objection, 54 and 55 or objection.
Judge, I think we misspoke.
You said 45 to 46, I believe you mean 45 to 66.
45 to 66.
I misspoke. 45 to 66 will be in evidence without objection, except for 54 and 55, which will be in evidence over objection. That's what I meant to say.
Mr. Zielinsky, you had an opportunity to look at these photographs prior to your testimony today.
Yes, I did.
And did they depict the area of the crime scene we're looking at here?
Yes.
All right. And I want to just go through a few of these. Entering into the room, as you told us, through the westbound entrance here, you document that case 45.
Yes.
You told us, what were you able to describe about the bed area? Was there something you noticed on the bed itself?
There were a couple of items on the bed. Yes.
Well, as far as not items, but the large stain.
Yes, there was a large ear-to-be blood on the northern portion of the bed.
And that was in stage 48.
Yes.
I want to use this laundry basket as a marker. You told us that there appears to be another form of hair somewhere on the bed.
Yes.
Where was that located at?
I believe it would be on the right side, like on the right side of that basket, and further to the, it's hard to describe.
That's okay, let me show you the photograph.
Sure.
Just using this laundry basket as an orientation point. Did you move this laundry basket when you were taking any of these photographs?
I don't believe I did, no.
Okay. So if we look at stage 49, what are we able to see using, again, the laundry basket as a point of orientation? What is this over there?
So to the right, on the right edge, behind the laundry basket against the yellow colored wall, is a clump of hair.
Did you get a better photograph of that if you can see in stage 50?
Yes.
And when you examined that hair, did it appear to you to be consistent with the hair that we saw at Blackwood number 2?
Yes.
Did you photograph the deceased as you found him on the floor when you arrived at him?
Yes, I did.
Stage 54. I want to ask you a few questions. Did you disturb the body in any way, or is this photograph precisely how you found it?
Correct. I did not presume that is how he was when I got into the room.
These items here, did you place any of those items there?
I had not.
Have you had the opportunity to see those types of items before on deceased individuals?
Yes.
And what are those?
EMS usually places them on the body. It's medical intervention.
And can we see here, did you observe the photograph of what appears to be a wound on the upper neck and chest of the deceased?
Yes.
Did you document that closer in states 55?
Yes, I did.
In addition to documenting what appears to be a mortal wound, did you document the remainder of the scene as you found it, sort of head to toe?
Yes.
Why do you do that?
Just to document the condition of the person.
Once your work is done, is the deceased typically, in this case, taken away from the scene?
Yes, sir.
So do you, why is it that you try to, again, document the deceased in this case at the scene as you found him prior to anybody touching the body or doing the blood?
Well, our job and responsibility is to document the scene as it was when we got there. Anything that happens afterwards, you can come back and refer to the original photographs.
So if a wound were to look different later on, you would be able to go back to your photographs
Objection, leave it forward.
and display what they look like.
Yes.
So again, just looking at the broken wound, states 59, did you document that wound sort of to you knew exactly what it looked like?
Yes.
In states 56, what do we see in states 56?
The photograph of the mid-torso of the body.
And is this also the what appears to be the right hand of the individual?
Yes, that would be the right one.
Did you observe any injuries or what appears to be injuries that you thought might be relevant to the right hand of this individual that you photographed?
Yes.
All right. What did you document?
He had a cut to the right index finger.
Did it appear to you that that cut was recent in nature?
Objection, qualifications. Forward.
Yes, it appears to be recent.
All right. And you look at States 57. Could you step down and show us where you observed that cut? Very quickly.
It was on this finger over here.
Sort of the dark area, the dark L area that we see.
Yes, it looks like an L.
And I'm just going to show you one more photograph. Right there, States 58. And you further document that from sort of the underside of the right hand.
Yes. This is the area here that had that injury.
You go to the sheets. If you have the diagram that I gave you, I think it states either 14 or 15, I think it's 15 for identification. Would you just take the marker and indicate by circling the deceased and marking it with a B, just for the record so that we know where it is?
I think in the first part, circle what?
Circle the deceased and just mark it with a B, just so that we can use it for reference.
Okay.
I want to jump forward. Once your work on the scene is done and the deceased is carried away by the Austin medical examiner, do you receive items of evidence, clothing, things like that later that's given to you and processed and photographed?
Yes.
And did you do that in this case with respect to the article of clothing that the deceased was wearing?
Yes, I did.
What are you looking for when you document the clothing of the deceased?
We're looking for any kind of defects or stains in this case.
Defects meaning any type of holes?
Correct.
All right. In state 60, what was in state 60?
In that photograph, it was taken back at my lab section, and what I had done is I took the shirt, the pants, and the underwear, and I laid it out as it would be on the body.
Sort of an anatomical position.
Yes.
In state 64, what was in state 64, what were you attempting to document?
That's the front side of the shirt.
In this area right here, were you able to make some observations of something in that area?
Yes, on the top left shoulder, there was a long hole or tear, whatever you want to call it.
Did it appear to be consistent with the wound that you saw on the scene?
It was in the same general area.
Okay. I'm not asking you if you made a comparison, direct comparison, but you appear to be consistent with the wear of that shirt having been stabbed in it.
Yes, it would be.
And state 63, you document that with, again, one of your scales so that it had some scale.
Yes.
And you told us about an area in the kitchen where you told us about an area outside of the living room into the dining room, the kitchen area where you documented some evidence, that being a potential weapon in this case, correct?
Yes.
Having previously shown counsel, any objection to states 67 through 77?
None.
Move that evidence states 67 through 77 at this time.
67 through 77 in evidence without objection.
I'm sorry, which one?
67 through 77. And I believe that you indicated by showing us on your diagram that there was which diagram? On your other diagram, I'll kind of You indicated that there was, showing us that there was a knife found in the kitchen.
Yes,
Okay, did you document that knife where it was located?
yes.
Right. Looking at states 68, what do we see that you document here?
That's a photograph of the knife that was in the kitchen.
Okay. And you would on states 15 for identification, you would indicate that by circling the knife and then placing a letter C next to it? Did you collect this item of evidence and photograph it both on the scene as well as back at the crime lab?
Yes, I did.
States 69. Is that the knife that you collected?
Yes, I did.
What did you notice about the knife itself? Again, just took note of that we can both see here and some things maybe that we couldn't see.
That the handle and the blade were both covered with blood.
Okay.
And what's hard to see in that picture is that there was a piece of hair that was attached to the knife, basically stuck there from the blood, and the tip was also there.
The hair that was covered with blood did appear consistent with the clumps of hair that you found at the stanchion too as well in the bed.
It was the same color appeared, and it was long, it wasn't like a short piece of hair, so yes.
Okay. And again, consistent with the hair that you saw on the scene.
Yes.
Looking at state 70, I know you said that it was difficult to see any other photographs, but were we able to see that hair in this photograph, state 70?
Yes, in this photograph, I had put the camera in a better position to take a picture of that hair.
Again, in better states 71.
Yes,
This item here is the hair that we're talking about.
yes,
And you also told us that you had observed that the knife appeared to be bent.
the tip of it, yes.
That you were able to attempt to photograph that as best as possible so that it could be properly documented.
Yes, I did.
State 73. What do we see in state 73?
You can see the tip of the blade. There's the dark shadow underneath it, just above that. You can see the tip. From looking at the picture from right here, not in front of you, you can't see that it's bent too well, but if it's in front of you, you can see it better.
Okay. Back to your diagram, then you told us that you proceeded to the back portion of the house, is that correct? The patio kitchen area?
The patio area?
The patio area?
Yes,
And there was a pair of sliding glass doors in that area?
yes.
If you could orient us to state 76, where are we standing here and sort of where are we facing? And if I need to pull this back so you can show us on the diagram, I can do that too.
Well, first I can tell you that you're standing in the kitchen and you're looking toward the back of the house.
Okay.
The front door would be behind you in this picture. The hallway leading to the bedroom would be to the left.
Where are the sliding glass doors?
Sliding glass doors are over to the upper right where you're pointing now.
Okay. So not these doors here, but this over here?
Correct, to the right of that image.
So would it be correct to say that this vantage point is taken from here looking straight back?
Yes,
Showing state 77. What are we looking at here?
that's a photograph taken within the dining room and it's looking directly at the sliding doors.
Did you notice anything about the sliding glass doors that you took note of?
The several things.
Pardon me?
Several, yes.
Okay, can you tell us?
First of, not the door itself, the blinds were open only on that side. And then the door was also unlocked. There was, I guess, a safety lock that's located kind of high that was disengaged.
That safety lock, did it appear to you that, from examining the door, that one could unlock that safety lock from the outside?
Not from the outside.
So, the safety lock being disengaged, did it appear to be consistent that a person could exit and then lock the door from the outside?
No, you wouldn't be able to access that safety pin device from the outside.
So that door was that the only door or window that was accessible from the outside that you saw?
Well, there was other doors and windows in there.
Right, I mean, was that the only one that appeared to be either unlocked or open?
Well, there was a garage door that was open.
Right, other than the garage door in front of it?
No, that would be the other open door, or unlocked door.
Did you proceed onto the porch and make observations of anything on the porch through the sliding glass door?
Yes.
And what did you see on the porch?
On the porch was a table, a cell phone, and some chairs. And there was 2 drops of blood on the floor.
Before we get there, you told us this time the state would offer that I believe without objection have approved possession of the United States 80 through 94.
80 through 94. Any objection?
No objection.
Are you offering it this time?
I am.
80 through 94, evidence without objection.
And just want to take a step back and told us about the safety lock on the door that appears to be not engaged, so that we can see this photograph here.
Yes, it's a little overexposed on that easel thing, but yes, it's right where you're pointing. There you go. Yes,
This sliding mechanism being in a lockdown position.
yes,
So you were able to proceed out of this door, and you told us that there was a porch area,
yes,
so it's 81, is that what we see in this photograph, which is directly out of the sliding glass door?
yes.
You told us that there were some things on the ground that you noted. What were those things?
There was 2 drops that appeared to be blood.
And from your training experience, have you had the opportunity to see, even on this scene, drops that appear to be consistent with blood?
Yes,
3, what you see in this photograph?
that's on the patio. The 2 white placards that are sticking up are the areas where it had the stains,
And how did you mark those stains?
A and B.
84, you see the letter A on 84.
Yes,
85. Underexposed. Is this the blood-like stain as you saw in the photograph at that point at letter A?
yes.
Looked like to you when you saw it?
It was laying on a table just like you see it in the photograph. The back side of it was pink. The front side was just a regular glass screen.
And did you document that phone as you saw it that morning without touching or manipulating it?
In that photograph, yes.
And also in states 90?
Yes.
Approaching the witness with states 95? States 95?
No objection.
This time the state would move into evidence, states 95.
95 and evidence without objection.
And this evidence appears to be the cell phone that you found on the table that we can see in the photograph here.
Yes.
Did you actually collect this cell phone that we have here in State 95?
No, I did not collect it.
Who collected that item?
Detective Oliver collected that.
Were you involved in the search, the digital extraction, forensic evaluation of that phone?
No, I was not.
On what's been marked as State's 15 for identification, would you please indicate by circling the phone on that diagram and putting a letter C next to it?
C or D, because we're on.
Oh, down D?
Yes.
Put a D next to it. Yes, sir. And then you did indicate that the back door, the back screen approach to this area was unlocked, the door was ajar.
There was a jar.
Go back to this photograph for reference. This is State 81. What do we see in States 81 that's sort of at the midpoint level around the area of the back porch?
It's like one of those wooden, batises, I think they're called.
Okay. And do you recall what color it was?
No, I don't recall.
If I showed you the photographs that are in evidence, States 92, 93, and 94, would it correct your recollection?
Yes.
Okay, what color was the little, I guess the crisscross area, the little fencing area around the porch?
That color was blue.
Showing States 92, can we see the area of the porch? And again, referencing the green fencing, so that we know where we're at. Do you see that in this photograph?
Yes, I do.
And what is this right here?
That's the screen door leading out of the patio onto the backyard area.
So within that door to the left is the table where the cell phone was located?
Yes,
And if you were to go in that door and go to the right, what would you be looking at?
that would be the sliding door leading into the home.
Is this door, the way you found it, halfway open like that, as you documented in this photograph?
Yes.
All the items of evidence that you collected in this case, did you submit them into the evidence department, again, in a secure facility so that they could be possibly documented at a later date?
With the exception of that pink cell phone, yes.
Okay, with the exception of the cell phone, you told us that Detective Oliver gathered.
Yes.
I want to ask you just about a couple other things. Did you meet with a person who you came to know as a guy hand?
Yes, I did.
That evening?
Yes.
And what did you do with respect to Mr. Hand?
I was asked by the detective to photograph him.
And did you photograph him with his shirt, his hands, his body, things like that?
Yes, to the front side of him with his hands.
I believe or the evidence, Madam Clerk, am I correct? 78 and 79 are in evidence?
No.
Right.
No objection.
This time state in evidence states 78 and 79.
78 and 79, there was no objection.
State 78, what do we see in this photograph?
The photograph of Mr. Hammond is front side.
Did you have any blood stains on the front of your shirt?
No, I didn't see any blood on the shirt.
And state 79, what did you document? Exposed here. But what did you document in this photograph?
That's a photograph of the palm side of his hands.
Did he appear to have some blood on his hands?
Yes, he did.
Did he have any defects on his shirt, any defects on his hands, anything like that?
No,
That you noticed?
not that I noticed.
And at some point, did you also obtain, were you able to obtain a DNA standard from the decedent, James Berry, in this case?
Yes, I did receive that.
And that was received from the Office of Medical Examiner?
Yes.
Approach to the witness of states 96. Do you recognize this packaging here?
Yes, I do.
Does that appear to be consistent with the packaging that you received from the Office of Medical Examiner, the decedent standard?
The packaging on this exterior tower is the packaging on the medical evidence on the inside.
Okay.
Looking in the inside.
But did you seal this item of evidence and place it in evidence?
Yes, this here was sealed by me.
Right. And does this package appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition now, outside of some additional marking from the DNA lab as it was when you packaged it?
Yes.
This time the statement of evidence states 96.
Any objection?
None.
States 96, evidence without objection.
One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Zielinsky, I believe you've been marking item that was for identification only, with some letters indicating where items of evidence were. Now that you've marked this diagram, does it still fairly and accurately represent
No objection.
What's the number?
States 15 with the markings on States 15?
You're offering it this time?
I am.
15 items without objection.
Publishing States 15. And Mr. Zielinsky, you made these marks to indicate the things that you testified to in your direct examination.
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you? Your experience, is it unusual for people to lock their doors before they go to sleep?
Objection, relevance, and scope.
I lock my doors.
The glass doors that had the safety pins, you called it, the only way someone could get through that door once the door is locked is from the inside out, correct?
If the door is locked, yes.
When you found that pink cell phone, did it have blood on it?
No.
Did you check it for fingerprints?
No, it wasn't checked for fingerprints.
Did you check it for DNA?
No, it wasn't.
Do you know if that pink cell phone was handled by Guy Hand?
No, I don't.
The blood drops that were found on the patio, whose blood was that?
We don't do any of those things, so I don't know.
So as far as you know, it could be Guy Hand's blood, it could be the decedent's blood, it could be anyone.
It hasn't been tested, so I can't tell you.
By the amount of splatter you saw on the walls, and I believe you may have said even the ceiling, would it make sense to you in your experience and training that if someone were standing in an area near the decedent when he was being attacked, they would get blood on them too?
Objection, beyond scope.
Over.
It's very possible, yes.
Possible or probable?
It's very possible and probable.
Would it surprise you to learn that Mr. Hand was either in underwear or night clothing at the point that he performed his CPR on the decedent?
Would it surprise me was the question?
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me, no.
Then what is the relevance of taking a picture with him with a shirt or a sweater on later that evening?
I was asked to take a picture.
Had you known that he had been in night clothing or underwear, would you have photographed him in light condition?
In light, what do you mean by light?
Like similar condition with either underwear or night clothing?
I don't know if I would have photographed him in the underwear like that. We still would have taken photographs of him, yes.
Okay, would it be accurate to state that the clothing you photographed completely covered any blood that was on his stomach, chest, or arms?
And yes, the photograph would have done that.
You took a DNA standard of the deceased, or you were given one by the medical examiner,
Yes,
and you submitted it to the sheriff's lab that handles the DNA?
yes.
And as far as you know, were they given DNA from Melanie Eam at any time?
As far as what I know, I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. Were they given DNA sample of Guy Hand?
Yes,
They were.
yes.
Who got it from?
I think it was CSI grant.
Oh, you did.
I did not take it, no.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Just briefly, one moment, John. Madam Clerk, I'm up to states 97.
Yes.
So this is going to be 97 composite. Yes. 97 composite is red.
Judge, I would object unless I'll get to recross.
Now you want to approach this now?
Areas inside of the vehicle that you observe and document both photographically as well as swab for possible forensic evidence.
I observed possible, and actually if I could check my notes.
Sure.
So on the driver's door, the front driver's door on the interior, on the steering wheel, as well as the emergency brake and gear shift, possible blood was collected using a sterile cotton swab in distilled water.
Looking at states 113, you see a placard number 5 that's affixed to the steering wheel.
Yes.
Also, in states 114, placard number 6, 115 near the gear shift, or the center console.
Yes, 6 is by the center console and the emergency brake. The gear shift was noted later and is not designated with a placard in this case.
Were you able to photograph that portion of the vehicle?
Yes, it was.
States 106. Were you able to see that area that you documented that appears to be indicative of a possible blood-like stain?
Yes.
And again, did you have the opportunity to swab that after the evidence for processing?
Yes, I did.
Did you also note some discoloration on the passenger seat, which you thought appeared to look like blood-like stain that you were able to both document photographically and collect using forensic technology?
Objection leading. Over.
Yes.
Move up to stage 101, what do we see here?
And that photograph is a picture of the seat. That's the front passenger seat near the emergency brake with a reddish orange-like stain with possible blood.
And again, stage 116.
That is the overall seat with placard number 7 depicted in the image of the front passenger seat.
Now, although something may appear red or discolored, do you necessarily know that what you're looking at is consistent with that being blood?
No, we do not.
And how is it that you
Determine whether something may be presumptively blood. In other words, it's worth analyzing further to determine if there's DNA or confirmatory blood tests.
One image or one thing is the naked eye. We have our presumptives that are just ourselves and our experience that says we believe this might be possible blood, so we collect it. The other, we do apply chemicals. In this case, I applied a chemical known as Blue Star that reacts to the hemin or the hemoglobin in blood. It will chemically luminesce a bluish color in low light. When I see that reaction, I will collect or swab, either taking a sample of the fabric, or if I can collect it via a sterile swab, I'll do that. But the conclusive determination of whether or not an item is blood is done by a DNA biology laboratory.
The Blue Star, does the Blue Star have positive indicators of blood on the areas that you swab at the driver's side door?
Yes, there's one, number 4, was tested with Blue Star. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 were just naked eye observations.
Okay. And did you test the gear shift that was started on?
I believe that's why, no, I did spray that area. The top of the gear shift had not reacted, but because again, this is a spray, it reacts where it can fall. It was under that I observed that the possible blood was. So it was a later determination that we went back just to double check and make sure that everything was seen and observed. And I observed more possible blood on the gear shift and therefore collected it.
And so then you therefore collected that blood from the gear shift itself?
Yes.
And examining the passenger side front door, was there any items that you observed, collected, or photographed on the passenger side door?
On the passenger side door, there was initially just what was observed initially as a white item. Upon searching and flipping that item over, it was determined to be a photograph. It was of interest by the detective, so I photographed that photograph.
Looking at stage 107, that would be seen there.
Yes.
This item was down in the bottom portion. Is this the item that you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Is that the location and the position which you found that particular item?
Yes, it is.
Did you, however, flip that item over and photograph the other side of that item?
Yes, I did.
Is that what you see in stage 108?
Yes.
That's the way it was found.
Yes.
Now, you told us that you documented and collected the items of evidence that we've seen in these photographs using sterile cotton swabs. How are they packaged and preserved for evidentiary purposes?
The sterile cotton swab is in its own self-container, plastic container. There's also a decanter in there to prevent it from rotting. It dries it out. And then that plastic tube is placed into an envelope and sealed and released either. Normally, I would keep it in our vault. This time, I released it to Officer or Sergeant Oliver for his collection.
And that's Sergeant Oliver with the Florida Agency?
Yes.
All right, original witness to states 120. So just taking a look at what's inside of states 120. You recognize these bags here?
Yes.
And what are these bags consistent with here too?
These envelopes, bags are consistent with the packaging that I use to collect swabs that have the Montgomery County evidence packaging on them with my signature and date.
Without objection.
State with proven evidence, composite 120, that's going to be A through I.
128 through I, and that was well objection.
So, and again, these are in evidence now. Do you see where you have signed your name and your identification number here?
I do.
And does it have a little area where it's received by the detective in this case?
Yes, it does.
Is that on each and every packaged item? Does it bear your name, ID number, as well as the name of Sergeant Oliver, as well as the date?
Yes, they all bear my name, ID number, and Sergeant Oliver's release, as well as my seal on that.
And these items, they contain swabs from the driver's front and interior door?
Yes.
And what else?
So we have the front driver's interior door armrest, possible blood, emergency brake center area, the driver's front door exterior handle, near the handle.
And is that what we saw at number 3?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you about, were there some black dress shoes in your swab that were located in the car?
Yes.
I'll show you a picture of those in just a second.
Before we have front driver's interior door. Number 7 here is a section of the front passenger seat that we cut out.
I'm going to ask you a question about that in a second.
Number 9, swab of gear shift, possible blood. And number 5 is steering wheel, possible blood.
And there were a couple of things that you collected, some shoes that were in the front passenger seat. I believe you said the portion of the seat that was cut out and removed?
I did not collect the shoes themselves, I just swabbed the top of the shoes.
But they were photographed,
The
correct?
shoes were photographed, yes.
Had a section of the seat that was cut and removed?
Yes.
Is that what you see in stage 117?
Yes.
And some shoes that you swapped and collected that were in the front seat, that was in stage 118?
Yes.
Once you collected all the evidence, what did you physically do with that evidence? Was it directly signed over to Detective Oliver by yourself?
Yes, it was.
Once that's done, do you have any further involvement as far as processing of evidence in this case?
No, I do not.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
I'm going to have just one moment.
Yes.
Afternoon.
Using your experience, and you have a master's as well, do you think someone was stabbed in this vehicle?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
I believe there was blood in this vehicle. Where and how it got there, I could not say.
You didn't see blood splatter like you would expect from a crime scene, did you?
There's always a different level of blood on every different crime scene. That's all I can say. It was blood in that car.
Did it not appear to you that this blood was secondary to being transferred from someone's clothes, from someone's arms, and from someone's shirt?
Again, I wouldn't be able to say. There's no way to know if somebody had a barrier, if something was blocking. All I know is that there was possible blood in that car.
So you are unable to state whether it was blood that was transferred from a crime scene by a shirt, or you have no way to know?
No, I have no way to know. I'm not a blood analysis expert.
Thank you.
No questions.
You may step down. Thank you. ma'am.
May I approach the question?
Yes. You ready to call another witness? You want to take a break?
Maybe not sure.
Yes, okay. We're going to take about a 10-minute break. We'll stretch go into the jury reviews. If you like, we'll be going in about 10 minutes.